My name is Amjad Abbashar. I am the head of the Office for Disaster Risk Reduction in the Arab States region. This office was established in 2007, late 2007, and it works with the 22 Arab countries who are members of the League of Arab States. The Arab States region is subject to a number of hazards. Among them is the issue of drought and desertification. Many countries are vulnerable to that, particularly in North Africa and the Middle East area. Also, the seismic risk is quite significant, particularly in the Middle East countries of Lebanon, Jordan, and Palestine, as well as Syria. They're also subject to water scarcity, that it's becoming increasingly prominent in the agenda of the Arab region and Arab states. And also, it is also subject to extreme weather events that are a product of the increasing climate change challenges that the region is suffering, particularly resulting in possible sea level rises in the future. And these are the main hazards, and our office is taking action to work with the League of Arab States to try and address the negative effects that these hazards might subject the region to in the future. We in the Regional Office for Arab States here, along with our partners, United Nations agencies and civil societies and NGO partners, as well as the Federation of Red Crescent Societies, are working with the governments to begin, for example, to develop a database of disaster losses, a historical database that will help establish or help support the planning and programming of projects that would be resilient to possible disasters if they occur. This is a regional strategy that addresses the key points and aspects, the key points of the key challenges actually of that the region faces, and tries to develop an implementation plan at the national level to ensure that countries are able to take actions in their development as they conduct their regular development activities, to take actions that mainstream disaster risk reduction into the development work and the development projects that they are doing in the various Arab countries. The global economic losses were the highest on record in 2011, mainly due to the Japan earthquake and the tsunami, the Bangkok floods in Thailand, which have taught us that economic damages in one part of the world often can affect other parts of the world as well. There's a chain of sequence and linkages between the disasters that occur. So for us, it's very important in the Arab region not only to limit the losses in lives that could occur due to a disaster, but it's also very important for us to limit the economic losses. And therefore, it's very important to invest now to ensure that you have a safer future in the Arab region if a disaster should occur. Disaster risk reduction is cost effective if it is inserted or mainstreamed in development projects now. That means many things. One of it is to make sure, it means a lot of practical things. Some of them are quite simple to achieve. For example, making sure that you have drainage established properly. You have to have adhere and implement and enforce building codes for buildings to avoid earthquakes or flash floods that might destroy them. You have to have response, standby ability to respond to resource to respond to a disaster if it occurs, to minimize the damage. And when a disaster occurs, you need to build better to make sure that the rebuilding also takes into account the possibility of a future disaster, and by mainstreaming disaster risk reduction as you're building, as you're building, rebuilding again. So it's very important that we invest in disaster risk right now, as early as possible, to make sure that the future is safeguarded, the future of our communities and our livelihoods is safeguarded. Make sure that Arab countries and governments are coordinating and collaborating their information sharing in terms of disaster risk reduction. I think this is an important area that needs to be strengthened in the Arab region, particularly the intergovernmental, or within the intergovernmental cooperation between the various line ministries and so on has to become stronger, and there has to be more sharing of information on disaster risks, on hazards, to enable all line ministries and communities to participate. One of the key areas for disaster risk reduction, to mainstream disaster risk reduction, there has to be very broad consultations on it, meaning that it's not only the responsibility of governments, but it's also very important to include civil society, the private sector, who play an important role in development projects in countries in the Arab region, as well as local communities. These are among the many stakeholders that have to play an important role and contribute to disaster risk reduction efforts in the various countries that we work in. So for us, that's very critical, and it's an area that we think needs much more support and much more commitment from the various Arab governments in this region.